Welcome to the Registered Investment Advisor Podcast, where financial services marketing expert Seth Green interviews experts, executives, and top producers to share can't-miss tips on how they successfully manage their financial service firms, grow their businesses, create great relationships, and influence the industry. And now, here's your host.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Today, we have the pleasure of having Joe Schmitz, who's a fellow believer, fellow track man. And we're going to dig in and have a great conversation, learn a little bit more about Joe. I'm sure he has some wonderful tidbits for the audience. And let's start. Joe, tell my audience a little bit about your journey in financial services, from your start in 2015 to having this wonderful comprehensive retirement planning company.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. So
Sure.
Started 2015, was studying financial planning in college at Mount Vernon Nazarene University, and I was in their financial planning program. And I actually had the ability to have a mentor in my life. Her name was Kathy Gillen, and she really showed me the way and was able to show me her experience in the business. So she's a retired financial advisor of 40 years now. And so I was able to basically come under her wing and just kind of get to see what she did and see the impact she had with her clients and the lifelong relationships, and ultimately motivated me to, get that degree in financial planning. And as soon as I graduated, I went ahead and started working at a few different firms, and then eventually started Peak Retirement Planning. And here we are today, and we've grown quite a bit and are continuing to grow, and just trying to help as many people as we can as plan for retirement and live the retirement they deserve.
Wonderful. Is there any significance to the name Peak Retirement Planning?
Absolutely. So we're all about helping people get down the mountain is how we explain it. So when we think about retirement planning, we think of a mountain. And so when you think about all the years you've been working, that's what we would call the accumulation phase. Saving and working and grow. And that's great. But once you get to that time of saying, okay, it's time to stop working, you no longer have an income coming in anymore. And now you have to create your own income. And now you've got to rely on all those savings that you've had all those years to live on. And so we like to think of that as the distribution phase, whereas going up the mountain is the accumulation phase. And so we help people get down the mountain with our 5-pillar approach, which we talk about is one, tax planning. That's the cornerstone of what our firm is all about. Making sure you can pay the least amount of taxes. We look at income planning, as I just mentioned, to make sure you have that income stream for life, so you're not worried about running out of money. We work with investment planning, making sure that our clients are not taking on too much risk than they need or want. And another one is healthcare planning, and also estate planning. So making sure if something happens to them, everything is set. So all 5 of those pillars is what allows us to get down the mountain, and that's what we focus on. And so I was actually out hiking in Arizona when I actually got the name of Peak Retirement Planning. I was hiking a hike called Pinnacle Peak. And so I was thinking about calling it Pinnacle Peak Planning, but I just didn't like the name too much. And I decided on Peak Retirement Planning. I wanted retirement to be in the name. And so that's how we got the name. Nothing crazy about the name and story, but something fun to talk about.
Absolutely. So tell me a little about the Certified Kingdom Advisor designation you have, and how does that align with your planning strategies and your approach to retirement planning?
Absolutely. So the Certified Kingdom Advisor, which is a CKA credential, it's basically a credential for Christian financial planners. And so with that credential, I've had to study every word in the Bible that has to do with money. And then you pass a test on it, and you have to go through a whole curriculum to do it. So it's a pretty good program there. And took me a while to get. You have to also hold your CFP. You have to testify as a believer. You have to have client references. You have to have pastoral references. So it's very, it's not just easy to get. There's a lot that goes into it. And so what our clients that work with us like about that credential, for the ones that are looking for a like-minded financial planner, is the fact that you're equally yoked and you have someone who sees the world in the same way you see it. So we work with believers, we work with non-believers, but it allows us to better connect with those looking for that type of relationship.
Oh, cool. So you really have kind of a stewardship approach. You're kind of a great steward of God's resources, in particular, the material, the financial resources. And does that factor into the kind of the educating your clients?
Absolutely. And that's what a big part of the Kingdom Advisor is for a lot of our clients is how do we best steward our money and do it in a biblical way, right? So
Okay.
for some of our clients, that can mean how do we give more to the kingdom? How do we give more to our church and organizations that we believe in that are doing the right thing? It could mean, how do we make sure we pass this legacy on to our kids? And is leaving them too much money going to be a problem, or is leaving them too little money not going to give them the opportunities that you would want to see live out? So we make it our passion. It's one other thing with peak retirement is, most advisors in the industry are a little older, and nothing wrong with that. But I think our approach is that, a lot of people work with us because, some of our advisors are younger. We work as a team. And so our clients don't necessarily have to worry about if one of our advisors retires because they've got multiple others that are here for the long haul to make sure they're served and also help generations to come. So when they pass their wealth from them to their kids, we'll be able to help them manage the money and help basically guide them with the principles and values that they had to the kids when they're now managing the money. And so try to help them do so in a fruitful way.
That's a great approach. So it sounds like you kind of help those clients find a deep sense of purpose. Not, the money is not just to go spend or get nice things, but there's a purpose behind it, creating a legacy. That's super. I love that. And I love the team aspect of your place. Now, speaking of teams, you played basketball, you ran track. Um, the experiences you gained there, what role does that play in how you developed peak financial planning and your interaction with your clients?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So our team, like we take a team approach to peak retirement planning. There's no one at our firm that is here for the money or here for their individual fame. It's all about being a part of something bigger than yourself, right? And as we know, being athletes, when you have a team approach, you score 30 points and you lose the game, no one cares. So it's all about how do we win the game? How do we work together? How do we use our strengths and weaknesses to come together to ultimately win the game and build those connections with those teammates? And so that's ultimately what we're doing here at Peak. We take that team approach where, we have multiple advisors. So when we work with a client, they're seeing multiple advisors and they all have specialists in different areas. And so that allows us to really be best at what we do and deliver that better service. And then we're just all very connected and have a lot of trust in each other, which allows us to run very smoothly.
Great, great. Now you've grown pretty quickly, and you're doing really, really well. And my audience isn't just potential clients. I have other RIAs and financial planners and retirement planners that are trying to be as good as you. What nuggets of advice would you give to an up and coming financial planner?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that we actually have tried to keep a mission for us is to
Okay.
educate other financial planners because we feel like our mission is not only to help our clients that, we're the steward of here locally in Columbus and other areas around the country, but also to change the financial planning industry. And so we feel like the way we're doing things is how the standards should be for other firms. And we don't feel like that's the case in all firms. So there's some firms that are doing great things. A lot of firms are just doing investment management and they're calling themselves financial advisors, or maybe they're insurance salespeople and that's all they do. And so we really want to educate advisors on here's what it really means to be a comprehensive advisor. And especially when it comes to retirement planning. And we talked about the 5 pillars earlier. So we've actually presented in front of advisors before, and this is something that I will continue to do, is to make sure that people are understanding what does it take to really deliver the high level services that our clients deserve. So to answer your question more clearly, though, of what do these people need to know? Well, they need to be looking at all areas of financial planning. Something that I feel like not enough RIAs and in retirement planners are looking at is taxes. And so that's something that we'd always educate people of having more of an expertise on that and taking a further approach. And if they don't necessarily have that expertise or don't have the wherewithal to figure that out, well, they better team up with a team that has tax planning experts with them, is what I would tell other advisors. So that's probably one of the biggest one that most of our clients work with us for is taxes. You actually see in the background here, I've got a book that's sitting up in my above my desk here called I Hate Taxes. And we actually wrote a book. So I guess that's my advice to those people is, read that book. And there's a lot of information on how to do tax planning for retirees. And we send that out to a lot of our clients and they've really enjoyed that read there.
Seems like you have a pretty special approach, in particular with the taxes. Tell my audience about that. Tell me, tell us what's the Joe Schmidt special sauce on taxes?
So we really focus on the tax planning side, and what people get confused about is tax prep versus tax planning. So we'll get people to say, well, I have a CPA and I don't need tax planning. And we're like, well, that's great. You have a CPA, but are they looking ahead? So most CPAs only look backwards. They're taking from January to April. They're taking that time to review your situation and then to act on what is already done. They're not looking ahead and trying to get ahead of things. Our approach is we're trying to get ahead of things. So we meet with our clients not January to April to do those changes. We meet with our clients from January to December to make those changes for that year. So we're getting ahead of it. And then whatever we get done, we coordinate with CPA to make sure that they file it and it goes into the IRS to make sure that they pay their taxes and file their taxes correctly. So tax prep is very different than tax planning. We have very advanced software that we use for our clients to make sure that they're making the right decisions. We've actually created a list of over 50 tax planning strategies that we do with our clients to make sure that we're taking advantage of the tax code. And I always tell people, the tax code's an opportunity book. And we just have to open it up and we got to read what it says. And if you're not opening it up, you're not probably doing tax planning. So we got to open it up and see what it says. And so that's what we do with a lot of our clients.
Kind of sounds like the Bible. You got to open it up to see what it says to know it.
You only get out what you read, right?
Absolutely. So you mentioned the software. Is it proprietary software, or is it something you guys developed, or have you tweaked it if it's not proprietary?
Yeah, so we have a few different proprietary calculators and stuff that we use, and then we use some pretty mainstream softwares out there that are just very sophisticated. And so we use a combination of both, but we've created a lot of calculators that our client have really liked that are proprietary just to show that a certain amount of tax savings we can have if we do one strategy versus the other. And that's been something we put a lot of focus on.
Great. Hey, can you share with my audience some success stories or memorable moments in your career that really stand out?
Certainly, one of my favorite tax planning stories. So we had a guy come in, and we were able to show him how to save $2.8 million in taxes over his lifetime is what we were expected to be able to help him save just by implementing a few different tax planning strategies. So wasn't anything crazy. It's something that I would think that most people would be able to generate that type of savings. And we can't guarantee anything in our space, obviously.
Right.
Don't want to go to jail, don't want to lose our license. But I'm pretty confident that if someone has a significant amount saved up in their tax deferred investments, their 401ks, IRAs, which is most people, it's not outside the realm of possibility to save over $100,000 in taxes just by changing and making a few tweaks. So that's our encouragement to everyone, especially listening, is, get the help. You don't know until you go find out. One of the things that I always tell people is you don't know if you don't know, right? You gotta go find it.
Absolutely. So, and you're born and raised in the Columbus area?
Yes.
So I guess you're an Ohio State
Yeah.
person?
Everyone's a Ohio State fan here. If you're not, then you gotta move up north.
I can imagine, right? So listen, how was growing up in Columbus? And I'm assuming it's kind of like Buffalo. It's a blue collar city, hard workers. How's that, led to your theories, your practices?
Absolutely. So I actually grew up in Carroll, which is about 30 minutes southeast of Columbus. Everyone refers to it as Columbus because it's very small. It's a rural area.
Okay.
We joke about there's one traffic light and sometimes it works. And down there it's just rural area farming. You mentioned hardworking people. That's actually all it is hardworking people who are just very trusting and just good people. And so that's where I grew up. And I think that's kind of developed and made me who I am today, is just being around that type of community. Really understanding the value of doing right for others and just that work ethic of developing that. And then just being close to Columbus, it's forever home down there in Carroll. And we consider Columbus, Carroll pretty similar areas there.
And I think I probably know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask anyway. You seem more interested in helping your clients preserve their wealth and grow their wealth as opposed to like some financial planners just making a commission.
Yeah.
Give me a couple of driving factors that have led you to have that approach.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to one thing that we do, we are fiduciary first and foremost, always act in the client's best interest. I mean, we wouldn't be doing what we did without doing that, regardless if we had to or not. And so that's where it all leads for the first part. But Just also understanding the whole comprehensive retirement planning concept that I mentioned earlier. There's some advisors out there that are just there to get a commission and sell an insurance product. And I don't agree with that. I don't think that's right. I think that people need our services. We get paid well for what we do, and they deserve to get the right type of service ongoing. And so that's just what we're about. I've just seen too many places and too many people not do that. And so that's what really fires us up to continue to deliver that type of service to the people we do serve, is what I would say there.
That's very good. And out of all the avenues in financial planning, it's really a broad spectrum of a lot of stuff, for lack of a better term. What made you choose retirement planning to kind of specialize in?
Yeah, so there's obviously a lot of different areas when it comes to financial planning. And so when I started in the industry, I was kind of forced into that retirement planning focus and
Okay.
really just grew a love for it. But mostly because there's just more opportunity in the retirement space than any other spaces, if you ask me. There's just more types of financial planning to do because you got to worry about Medicare, you got to worry about Social Security, taxes are different in retirement than during your working years. You've got to worry about, estate planning becomes more of a concern because you're getting close to that time, unfortunately. And then, healthcare planning is more prominent in retirement. And so some of those things that we talked about are not as important during the early years. And so that's why we talked about that mountain, going up the mountain. It's mostly just investment management. And that's important and people need that. But going down the mountain, there's the 5 pillars we talked about. So there's much more work. And so when I looked at, where can my resources be best used, it was really in that retirement space. And plus, when you get to work with people that are your parents' age and, in between them and your grandparents, it's really rewarding, right? You're helping the people that have helped you your entire life. So it's almost that, that component of it makes it fun as well.
It's kind of cool, right? When you get that, I remember when you were in high school, right?
I've had a lot of clients for many years now who started with me right when I started out of college, and it's been rewarding to see the amount of impact I'm able to have with them, and
Yes.
just the trust they had with me early on to see where we're at now. It's it feels good whenever someone trusts you like that early on.
That's a wonderful thing. And we talked about the certified kingdom advisor, but you're a certified financial planner. Tell me about that. Tell me about the process to get that certification and why it helps you stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, so the certified financial planner is something that all of our advisors either have or will have, and it's a requirement for our firm to be either in studying or have that. So in my opinion, I wouldn't work with an advisor who does not have that credential or not in the process of getting that. And the reason why is because they're not showing a commitment to really be a comprehensive retirement planner. That CFP is a real deal. You have to go through. I think I even have books behind me. There's a whole stack of books that you have to read through, and there's a lot to it. And so it goes through all those 5 pillars I talked about. It's going to make sure that you have the level of experience. So if you started tomorrow, you want to be able to have your CFP. You have to have the experience, and it also means that you are a fiduciary, that you follow the ethics. And so there's a lot of areas of that CFP that just make a lot of sense for most people. And I don't know about you, but if I'm working with a doctor and a doctor doing surgery on me, I want to make sure they're well educated and know exactly what they're doing. And I think that's what the CFP is able to prove, that if you have the CFP, you've passed the test, you've passed a 7-hour test, you've gone through many years of studying, you have the experience, you've been approved. So that's one thing I really like about that credential.
That is super. That's super. And I also see in a note here you have kind of a passion for outdoor activities. You mentioned you got the name Peak when you were hiking and running. And how do these interests affect your approach to financial planning and, more important, and client relationships?
Yeah, I mean, I think something that as our firm looks at is everyone's different, right? So, I joke with people like, some people see like we have a fun fact sheet about me. And one of the fun facts is I did an Ironman. And how many people can relate with that? Well, probably no one, and no one should, because it's crazy and no one should do it, right? So I think it's more so about connecting with people, even if you're not fully don't have the same interest, right? Appreciating each other, respecting each other enough to get, maybe you have interest, maybe you don't. But with our clients, we try to make it about them. What's important to you? Don't let me make what's important to me what we plan for. I want to know what's important for you so we can best plan for you and your goals and, what concerns you have. And so for some of our clients, they may say, hey, I want to travel a ton in retirement. I can relate to that. That's awesome. And so how do we do that? How do we save enough money to make sure we do that? How do we make sure our money's protected so we can do that and not have to worry if the market's down or worry about running out of money is some of the things we look at there.
Cool. And we talked about a lot of the great and shiny things. Tell me about the challenges of, building your financial planning firm, getting employees, getting clients. Tell me about some of those challenges.
Yeah, I think the first challenge I had to hurdle is when I was 22 years old, when I first got into the industry a while back. Uh, Less than 10% of advisors out of college make it. And so, that's
Really?
for just to get to where
Really?
we are is, beating the odds, right? But honestly, like just with my mentality of who I am, I don't really think we've seen any like huge hurdles or stumbling blocks. Everything's been pretty smooth. And I think a lot of that's too because I've had great guidance. My mentor, Kathy, and just other support systems as well. It just makes it really easy to flow when you have that guidance. But I would say jumping out and starting peak when we did was obviously a big jump. You go from working at firms where you're making a good income and getting taken care of to now you got to start from nothing and build it up yourself. So we were able to go from just me. Now we're up to 12 team members now. So obviously there's a lot of growing to pains with that, but everything was pretty smooth because we've been able to hire just some rock stars and people that are really good at what they've done. And so you're not really having to micromanage people or wonder if they're going to do it right. You just trust them and know that they've got the right skill set and expertise to do it.
Great, great. And so, I mean, that's super. Now, your youth basketball team.
Mhm.
Tell me, how'd you guys do last season? What's going on this season, and how does that affect your strategies in dealing with clients?
Yeah, so I've coached a team in our community here for the past 5 years now, and they're just graduating, so they're starting their first year in college now,
Wow,
and it's been really neat to see how far they've come since eighth grade, and a lot of traveling across the country for tournaments, and just a good mentorship opportunity, good relationship building there, and a way I can continue to give back to the community is something that's
yes,
always important to me, and when I can relate to someone in that way, it makes it, really, really rewarding to see that,
that's great.
flourish. And I'm, very close with all those guys and expect to remain close with them ongoing as well.
So, does anybody have a job waiting for them as soon as they get out of college?
Yes, you'll laugh, but actually, I think 3 or 4 of them have made a commitment
That's
to
cool.
me that they want to work with our firm once they graduate. And I think that's what's neat about that experience is, they were able to see the success I had. They were able to see how I carried myself. They were able to see the professionalism that I had. And that ultimately motivates them and gives them that positive role model to, look after. But yes, they're very interested in this position. We're looking actually to bring on a couple for internships this summer. So they've already asked me to send them a bunch of stuff and what can I do to get to grow more and be closer to getting that opportunity basically. So really neat to have that connection.
And take a quick moment. Tell me about your youth days. Tell me about the development of Joe when he was 8, 10, 11, 12 years old and how what you learned and how you're applying it today.
Absolutely. So my parents were key role models for me growing up. Two of the hardest workers I've ever known, and just very, very disciplined. They've taught me really good money habits since I was born. When you get $1, you got to give some, you got to enjoy some, and you got to save some, right? And so that
Mhm.
just mentality, but also just being frugal, right? Making sure that you're being smart with money. We're not spending money foolishly. They were great examples of that. They did a great job teaching me on that. But my dad's a business owner. He's been doing it. He's just done it his whole life. And so being able to, be around him has kind of gotten me to have that entrepreneur spirit and be able to guide me to build the business that we have today. And my mom actually still works with us here today,
Really?
and she's a big part of us, what we do here at Peak. And
Cool.
so to have that relationship with her over all those years and still have it to this day and have her having a big impact in this firm is a fun opportunity as well.
That's great. Now, I knew I was going to enjoy this interview. When I read over and looked at the notes, and I thought, this guy, he's a believer in Christ. He's a former athlete, and he's successful. And I got the feel that you understand the source of your success.
Absolutely.
It comes from within, and it comes from an outside source that is the source of all things good. And I just got the feeling that you'd have that. Before we go, I want you to tell my audience because I'm sure they want to hear why should they be picking up the phone, giving you a call or your team members a call or sending an email and then tell them the number, the email, the address, and how to reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess one reason why you should reach out to us, just get a second opinion. Whenever people reach out to us, we don't ever try to push them to work with us. We are not about that. We're all about giving guidance and making sure if we were to work together, is this a good mutual fit to do so? So we do have specific criteria for our clients that we look for. And so we've taken the stance that we don't work with everyone. Some firms do that and nothing wrong with that. It's just that in order to deliver the higher level service that we do to our clients, we have to be more exclusive and particular about who we serve. And so that's the approach we've taken. But if you're looking for further help or you want to talk further, if you go to our website, peakretirementplanning.com, you'll see in the top right-hand corner, there's a place to apply to schedule a session. And so you can actually apply to schedule a session with one of our advisors and our team, and we can walk you through what we call a discovery session, just giving you further guidance and get to know you a little more and just make sure you leave that meeting with more information than what you came in is ultimately what our goal is. And again, that's peakretirementplanning.com.
That's great. And Joe, listen, thank you so much for your time today. I know running the financial planning business, and this is right in the middle of your business day, and you took the time out to talk to my audience. I do appreciate that. Hey guys, this is Carl McKinney. I'm co-hosting the RIA podcast with Seth Green, and we will hear from you, talk to you, and see you on the next one. Thank you.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com.